So, A&B is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about this animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to, and he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much. And thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you going to join the library?
Hello, real people. Hello and welcome once again to another authentic edition of AMB Animation live stream. And this is another stream that's going to be all about you guys. So the authentic animators answer to everything. What is the everything? Everything that you have to ask me. So ask away. Start your questions right now. I've got some topics that I'm going to talk to because we're also going to be taking a look in the global Facebook community at the Real Animator Training Growth, Development and Progress group. We've got some nice posts in there and we're going to be taking a look. But ultimately, I'm online for you guys. So please do ask away any question that you want. We currently have 5 people, so that's enough to get some questions going. But there's going to be plenty more, as there always ends up being as the stream progresses. So you'll probably hear me saying this a number of times. We've got Zedpo, how are you? Cameron Allen Davidson Black, how are you, my friend? Culture Scene Art, or Culture Sean Art, depending on how that's pronounced. Hello to you. And Charlene Giles, awesome. Charlene, good to see you on my stream. All right, so without further ado, let me change my screen and make sure that my mic is activated. Please do let me know if you're having any sound issues. I know that Cameron will always have my back in that regard. Right, so let's just begin by going into the global Facebook community. Now, we've got some interesting posts here. This post I commented on before. We've got, and what I like about these posts is we've got some newer members who are posting, and you can already see how they're growing. which really warms my heart. Because Culture Shin Art, I'm in the library and I'm on the job cycle, still having understanding of second, third frame is like a favor, a bit more closer to the original frame. Offhand, I can't really answer that question because it's been a long time since I did the job cycle tutorial, and I would need to look. But if you're the guy who's posting these videos that I'm going to talk about, then it's double mic, says Charlene. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. We've got a double mic. So thank you for that. Then I'm going to talk about what's going on here. What you'll have noticed as you're going through those basics exercises is you're going through the same things that you've been learning since the bouncing ball. So if there's any unfamiliarities that are upon you, it's okay. I mean, you've got a vast journey ahead of you, but what's going to happen, just like lifting weights and repeatedly doing the same things, perhaps in different ways to make it a little bit interesting for you, Culture Scene, you will be training your subconscious to learn those fundamental things. And the journey of discovery, you're embarking on the journey of discovery, and that's where the real learning is done, which is why we don't call the training archive the real learning archive library. We call it the real training archive, because training is what's important. The repetitious act of doing the right things over and over again, and the experience and knowledge gained from that. So we're going to have a look at these examples. It may well be you, Da Vinci Clements. I'm going to be talking about him, and I'm also going to be talking about Theodore Milanov, because both these posts really show a progression. So Da Vinci Clements, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, says, this is my first attempt at a basic walk cycle. Now, I already gave him a little bit of feedback in this in here, so I'm not going to talk too much about the feedback. I'm going to go on to his next video because it illustrates exactly what I just said to Culture Shown Art. So this was his first attempt at the basic walk cycle. Now, naturally, as you're piecing together, I'm going to talk as if I'm talking to you, whether you're online or not. As you're piecing together the various body parts, your adjustments of proportions are going to take a little time to get them all nicely proportioned correctly. So the legs are a little long here, but if we look now, what I really liked about this was the let me just loop that. What I really liked about this was you got the swinging pendulum correct in the arm, and you also got the hip rotation in the hip section. What we don't have, which I mentioned in the critique, is the up and down action on the hips so much. So while those hips are rotating and articulating, and it feels like it's got weight to it, the legs are not really coming up and down so much. They look more like they're growing and shrinking a little bit. And the head, though it's bobbing, is just kind of like moving from side to side. It's close. It's close to the example, but those subtleties are missing, and that's okay, because it's a lot to take in to do something like this. To go from a swinging pendulum and a bouncing ball onto this isn't easy, and you've done a fantastic job. And hopefully you'll see that the pendulum swings are in the arms, the bouncing ball is in the hip, but we're also putting rotation in there, and you're learning about the torso. The top torso rotates in relation to the bottom torso. Fantastic. We got a little bit of wobble on the eye there in terms of the placement, but all of this is part of the journey. Now, if we jump on to his next cycle, which is wonderful, Da Vinci Clements, again, I finally completed the standard. Oh, you are. This is you, Culture Shown Art. Then wonderful, wonderful. You're doing so well here, because I really want to talk about this one. I finally completed the standard walk cycle and had to trust the process. You see, that's what it's all about. By trusting the process, you're also learning to trust yourself. And that's extremely important when you're getting good at something. In this day and age of social media with information overload, good information, bad information, okay information, there's ever more anxiety and insecurity, because as we're looking for an answer, we tend to just think, I'll just go online and see what somebody else is saying about it. And the problem with that is you're not trusting yourself. You're not allowing yourself to grow. You're not having faith in yourself. Every time you learn something, instant doubt. Whereas before these things were invented and before the internet was so powerful with instant speed, you know, fiber optic speed, we had to trust ourselves a little bit more, you know? So it's a gift and a curse. So what I love about that is you're starting to understand the process. I've stumbled, I can honestly say I'm grateful to have stumbled across this gold mine of information. Thanks, AMB, and good fortune to everybody in the library. Well, it's my pleasure. And, you know, it's only a gold mine of information to those who really use it properly and want it. You know, as I said, the attitude, you know, and you seem to have the right attitude, because you've been posting a lot of stuff in this group, whether you're getting feedback or not, and you are showing a lot of growth, because this is miles ahead of the previous post. And this is wonderful, because what we can immediately see here is, boom, look at your proportions. They're much more proportioned out now. You know, you've got the proportions right. And I had a little look just before I came online. You've got the up and down going on, because the standard walk cycle forces you to do that. So if we look at this, I'm just going to have to loop it. Why is it doing? Come on, play. Okay, now let me just put this on loop and have a look at this. Wonderful, man. That is virtually, I remember that test. I remember that test. That is the only thing that you've done, is you've kind of got his body seesawing on the upper a bit too much, which not necessarily seesawing in perspective from left to right. You've got that right, but the forward and backwards just kind of looks a little bit extreme. But apart from that, it's mainly on the back, the leaning back. But apart from that, look at that, man. That has got so much more up and down. Now, what's going on in my live stream? We're dropping frames. Okay, that's okay. Hopefully, it's my stream. Give me some feedback. Am I still streaming good, or am I not streaming good? Are you getting problems? So this, we've got the articulation of the hips. Wonderful. We've got the up and down of the hips. We've got the bend in the knee, and the legs aren't growing and shrinking. Excellent. Yeah, there's a little bit of like floatiness on the foot coming down. It's like, particularly on this foot here. I think we need to get into I think either look at my video. I doubt I did that. That's not something. So I don't think he'll be on his heels so much getting into that pose. So look at the breakdowns. Because we go into the down, and I'm going to see this one here. You see here, that's a better look. Look at his heel coming down here, right? We feel that, right? Now when we got his heel coming down on this one, you in between him too much on that up heel there. This area here, right? Can you see what I'm circling right here? That lets it down, right? But we've got the swinging in the arms. Oh man, even his head's going in and out like that. Excellent job. Listen, just do the jog cycle and see what happens. Do the jog cycle and see what happens, and take your notes and go for revision. You're in a good position. You're in a good position, Culture Sean. Wonderful. Wonderful work. And just to show where you'll be headed, in the intermediate archive, Patchtunes is working on the 4-step walk cycle. Now, Patchtunes is a bit of a superstar. he's a young guy. He was 18 at the time, and he impressed me so much that I gifted him a free membership to the library. He was always watching my streams, taking notes, always coming and talking, always really enthusiastic. And sometimes I do that with younger. When I say younger, I mean young adults. I don't mean any, like, the library is probably not the place for kids. This is what he's done in the intermediate archive. He's doing my 4-step walk cycle. Hi AMB, real animators in training. Here is the AMB 4-step walk cycle completed on 1. Sorry for taking so long. The lecture's been pretty hectic, but always refreshing to come back to training lectures. Just so you know, this guy gets, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube for his Mario animations and all that. So he's already got the audience, but he wants to up his game, which is why he keeps returning to real animator training. And you know, that makes me feel that my gifting of the library was not wasted, because he certainly has the right attitude. I did have some issues which caused some flickering, but I found a way to fix it. There isn't much strobing. I think my lines could have been cleaner. Not necessary. You're not, you know, this is more to understand the motion. It's clean enough what you've done. But if I wasn't sure I needed to clean up the whole thing, now you don't. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this test. Yeah, you should be, because I've seen it. I hope I retain what I learn as I go onto the quadruped cycle. Yes, you do. You will. If I remembered correctly, that's going to be fun, since I've not animated many quadruped characters. Yeah, you're going to be moving on to the quadruped, the stick quadruped. So it's not going to be like doing any fun. It's going to be like doing a stick man, but a stick dog. If there's anything I missed, please let me know. You didn't miss anything, but let's just have a look, right? Let's just have a look. So this is where we're going to be headed with our walk cycles. In the intermediate walk cycle, we do something like this. And that is, I have to say, Patch Tunes. It almost looks, he's a little stocky, and his upper torso is longer than his legs by the appearance, but that's me nitpicking. It almost looks 100% exact, identical to my test. That is pretty amazing. I would wager Patch Tunes is in his early, he's probably as old as my daughter now. He's probably 21 or something like that. And for a 21-year-old guy to be knocking out stuff like that, yes, he's followed my tutorial, but that is insane. That is excellent. The control, the volume. That's one thing when you're following along with a video, to be able to retain form and volume. There's, because you can't escape with circles and squares. We're not looking at characters and things to distract us, and we're looking at fully in between on ones, very unforgiving stuff, but this is solid as a rock. That is awesome work. I love the little notes he's taking as he's going along. Just gonna see what's going on in this guy's brain. Down, his pelvis should be level. Look at that. See, this is an example to anybody studying from Real Animator Training Library, the right way to do it. Can you see how on certain keyframes he's made notes? Elbow 2/3 in, head on thirds. Excellent Patch Tunes. Excellent. Head down for acting. Hand. Arc of the hand. Arm favors. Hop. Man, Patch Tunes, this is exemplary stuff. You've not done me proud, you've done yourself proud. That is one heck of a test. I'd almost think I did it, since I'm the creator of the exercise. Very good work. So that is Patch Tunes' effort. How do I like it? How can I react to it? There we are. Now, the other one I'm going to talk about, now I already looked at this one, is Theodore Milanov. Theodore Milanov. So take the notes. So take the same notes I take when I'm watching the lecture. Yeah, basically, you're going to be taking notes when you study from Real Animator Training. Otherwise, you're You know, you're literally following me step by step over the shoulder as I draw. You're not like, I'm not doing it fast. I'm doing it at a speed for you to actually follow along. And the things I say are incredibly important. Yes, that's what I struggle with. I understand halves and thirds, but not 2/3. Okay, well, perhaps rewatch the bouncing ball video and the pendulum video, or the ones that talk about that. Let me give you a quick explanation of that right now. 2/3 is very easy, all right? So, you say you understand halves and thirds. Well, halves and thirds like this, like an in-between halfway and two in-betweens 1/3 of the way each, is more or less going to give you the same result, right? It's going to give you exactly the same result, because this is a linear movement, right? It's a linear. So what 2/3 or 1/3 means, Culture Sean, and this is in the library, by the way, is what makes it special is if we eliminate one of those thirds, either the one closest, which will be 1/3 or 2/3, and we jump and just have one in between. But we can throw in another in between there. What you're probably learning in the training library is, as we're creating breakdowns on thirds, we're actually still avoiding the linear movement by throwing in, and slowing out at the top and bottom, and having the jump coming in here, right? So then we slow in and we slow out, right? We slow out and we slow in at the end, and there's this jump here, right? So that's the baby thing that you're learning in the training library right now where you are, right? You're probably learning it like this, if my memory serves me correctly. I created that basics archive nearly 7-8 years ago now. So you're probably learning that, but in the most easiest way to understand it is both ways, if you didn't have any other in-betweens, would be linear movement, because there's even spaces, right? Whether it's thirds or halves, it's even spaces. So the magic happens when you jump, right? But as I said, the way you're learning it at the moment is you're using that middle bit as a jump, and you're learning slowing in and slowing out at either side of the third when we are doing thirds, right? Because I'm teaching you a very important law, the law of slow in and slow out. See, a lot of the chumps online that like their shitty free YouTube information, they watch all these quick shorts and all this person going, I'm going to tell you how to understand charts, and they show all this, and they think they retain that information. No, they're like children learning to brush their teeth for the first time, or get dressed for the first time. Just watching a video ain't going to do it, son. Quite frankly, you gotta repeatedly draw these charts over and over again and explore and experiment. And that's the power of the Real Animator Training Library, because it forces you to do this. There is no alternative. As I said, most people that join get forced to do things they've never done before. And then pretty soon, things that once seemed untouchable are now well within your reach. Right, so Patch Tunes has done an amazing thing there. We have got Theodore Milanov. Now, this was an older test of him beginning the intermediate archive, and Theodore was struggling with drawing, but we can really see just how his working with simple shapes is making a difference. So he's learning about the sack turnaround model here. And it's not bad, but he's what really excites me about is when we look at his next one. We got to refresh this page, because when we look at the next one he's done, now we look at Theodore Milanov's next exercise, which is anticipation, right? And he's really starting to really deform the sack. And yes, it's more chicken or person like than my sack, but I don't care. I've designed this as a way to train you guys to get used to the human form. You got a lot of you got a lot of well-meaning people, but really they're adding an extra 5 years to their life, thinking that they're going to animate a flour sack, and they're really focusing on this simple flour sack shape, right? And they might put a little bit of side on there like that, and they'll learn about squash and stretch with this simple shape, right? Now, that's all well and good. You learn about how to make appealing shapes and all that kind of thing. But really, you don't animate, you don't want to learn animation to draw and animate a flour sack, right? So the AMB flour sack is a little bit different, and it's come under fire from people who, people who can't draw and animate as well as I can, but they think they know, right? Because my thing does look a little bit like a person, right? And when I teach it, and I kind of like, you see me kind of like making it more like Mr. Oogie Boogie Man, right? So you see me kind of doing things like this, right? And then teaching the deformation in there, right? And then having a kind of belly in here like that, right? And telling you that this is the side, like this is the side, and this is the other side, right? And that's the center line. So we start doing things like that in the intermediate archive, and that effectively is like a mini, quick little kind of shape anatomy, which will kind of like prime you for doing fun cartoon characters, and you're gonna get better at understanding cartoon shapes a lot faster than somebody who thinks they're learning like a Disney. I'm learning the way Disney did it with the flour sack, man. Yeah, good luck. Carry on getting bored, carry on getting frustrated with your mediocre results. Right, so what I can see here is, yes, he's kind of drawn it a little too much like a person, but what I'm happy about is he's starting to understand squash and stretch in this sack, right? You're starting to understand the squash and stretch. You're going a little bit below the walk line there on his foot. Is he? Or is that just that line tricking me? No, yeah, it's that line of the volume. So, and the timing and the timing and the attitude is great, right? That little strop off the side, the anticipation. So, yeah, you still need to work on your drawing of the sack, but I can actually see that the more you do it, the better you're going to get at drawing this cartoon sack, because this is already a lot better than what was before, and you're starting, we can feel the animation. The animation is on point. The timing is on point. The walk cycle is on point. The arcs are pretty much on point. The squash and stretch is off, but that's all right. In the intermediate archive, that's where we learn about squash and stretch, and this is an anticipation lecture, right? So you're going to be working squash and stretch throughout every single flour sack exercise. So that's really good work, Theodore. A lot of growth, development, and progress happening there. Nothing much else. We've got Cameron, who is posting his efforts. Brittany Goddard doing some brush strokes here. What I would like to see, perhaps from Brittany Goddard, is, yes, this is good, but let me just move this onto my other screen for a second. I think it would be good if you did this drawing. So let me just very, very fast. By the way, if you want to see what's happening with Gracie Goodbear, we've gone from this to this, right? Now she does her little moves there. Then we go tight on her face. We see her feet. And now I'm kind of animating this portion here, right? So that's where we are with Gracie Goodbear. By the way, if you want to see this Gracie Goodbear animation continue and keep doing well, please do click the link in the description and click donate. Support real artists. Otherwise, you're going to see less of them and get more AI schlop. The Disney studios have now acquired AI for Disney Plus. And that means that people are now going to be able to create their own AI schlop on Disney Plus soon using Disney characters, which is going to, it's not going to affect me as much, but a lot of people are going to get scared and a lot of artists are going to quit and perhaps even do worse. So if you really want to keep seeing hand-drawn, original generated art, then please do support us. So the link to support me is in the description. Give what you can, or just to say thank you. Right, so now I was going to talk about what I'd like to see Cameron and Brittany Goddard doing. Now here's the thing. Here's something. Now I'm gonna use a separate example to Brittany's, because I'm gonna kind of suggest you what to do. And if you did this with a real sketchbook, it'll be even better. So I'm going to do my own life study of something. Let's say dance pose, right? I like dance poses, right? They're always inspirational things to do. Right, so that's a very nice dance pose, right? It's small, but I am going to make a study, but then I'm going to destroy that study, right? Not destroy it, but again, when you do a drawing, don't do a drawing to post the drawing. Do the drawing to essentially train. This is a very interesting pose. I picked a really interesting image here. So do the drawing to essentially train yourself. So what I'm doing right now is this is the kind of thing I would do, and then I would delete it, right? So Cameron, this is for you, and this is also for Brittany Goddard, right? So I'm not taking my pencil from the page. Even though it's a glass screen, I will always call it the page. Why? Because paper is king. And if you did this on paper, it'll hurt more, and you'll get over it better when the more you do it. And what'll essentially happen is you will then be very proficient, because you won't be so precious about your stuff, right? Don't be precious about your work, right? So you can get a really thin pen and do it on paper. I advise doing it in a pen and not a pencil, right? So I am very quickly making a study. Now I could do what I'm suggesting Brittany to do from this drawing right here, but it wouldn't set as good an example, because I want you guys to spend time on your drawing and then to do something to it that you normally wouldn't do, right? So we have got the under scapula there, and this is a heck of a great drawing. Not drawing pose. The rib cage comes there like that. Belly there. This comes up here like that. So you see, now this isn't actually the thing I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to make the drawing to the best of your ability, right? You can implement the technique I'm using here if you like. I highly recommend you do. But you kind of like make the drawing to the best of your ability. Man, this anatomy this is what I love about. Look how that leg is curling like that. It looks so awkward because of the light. Right, and then we've got the arm. The arm is really playing. Like, you can really see the deltoid coming up here like that. I'm being very gentle with my pen, right? You can do the same. And I haven't, as of yet, taken it from the screen. Now I'm slightly off with that there. All right, there we are. That is a... If I press undo, how do I do? Okay, I took my pen off the screen a couple of times, so let's redo it all. Redo it, redo it, redo it. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but I really shouldn't have taken my pen from the screen. It felt like it was on the screen the whole time. But there you go. So don't take your pen off the screen, right? So now I'm going to work the drawing just a little bit more. I'm going to get a little bit kind of precious about it, right? Just to make my point. Right, let's do a bit of hatching, right? Get this drawing looking. We've got like the muscle coming in here, the deltoid coming here like this, right? So even so, when you're working, whether you're working in a sketchbook or not, now here's where I went wrong. The arm should be doing that, right? But I'm just gonna go with what I did. I was interested by that shape, which I studied wrongly, but there we go. I'm gonna put it in like that, and we're gonna have this one come here like this. The back comes straight around here like this. This down here. Then we're going to have the... So you want to go over it, right? And as you'll still have the underdrawing, right? Now, I love these definition here, right? Of the muscles. And we've got the description here, so we're going to shade that in, right? Now I love this. I can see the sartorius in action here, and the abductors, with also the rectus femoris and the patella coming here like that. And here we've got this almost like this coming in here. And I will even throw in a little bit of shading on there just to say that, like, I'm personally not spending that long on this, right? But like, if you want, you can spend an hour on the drawing, right? You can spend an hour or 2 hours. You can spend a day on it, and the longer you spend on it is going to be better for you, because not because of the time that you spent making the accurate drawing, right? That's all good. That's good that you're doing that, right? But it's more important what I want to tell you to do next, right? So let's get the zygomatic cheekbone in here, a little bit of the eye up here. The nose comes here, the lip. We've got the head here like that, the jaw, the ear coming here like this. How I draw faces so easily is because not because I have a formula, because I know the anatomy of the face, right? So now I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on the hair, not too much, right? As I said, the longer you spend on it, the better it'll be, and I'll show you why. So let's say that this is your sketch pad. It's not something that you can press undo to, right? It's something where you sat down for the whole day, if need be, or 2 or 3 hours, and you've really spent time researching, learning, and this is a great mental exercise, all right? So I'm gonna throw in some shadow on here now. Let's even start putting in shadow, right? Let's put all that in shadow, right? Doesn't matter with the loose hair like that, we can do that. Let's now put in some shadow on this hair like this, right? Some shadow on the deltoid. Interesting. Comes like this. All right, so we've got shadow there. And this is all in shadow. And this is pretty much in shadow too. A little bit of rim lighting on that, but it's pretty much in shadow. We've got shadow here. So I'm actually really like, imagine like I've spent, like I'm a beginner, and I've spent about an hour or two, and I'm feeling pleased with the drawing. I'm feeling really proud of it. Imagine yourself in that scenario, right? And this is what I want. Cameron does it anyway, right? So more so Brittany Goddard, right? So we've got shadow coming here like that, because Brittany Goddard, when I look at her drawings, I see the need to have something finished and polished, and that desire is good, but then it's a desire that that can be counterproductive. I'll tell you why. Because all of this is being done for the sole purpose of learning, training. It's training. It's nothing else. What it is it's training. I'm training myself in hand-eye coordination. I'm training myself in structure, form, anatomy. It's training myself, right? So let's say that that's it. Let's say that this is your, let's just put a bit of facial shadow in there too. Right, like that. Let's say that you've done your drawing and you're super, super happy with it. Now, what I want you to do, now Cameron has already done this, is I want you to do something like this over it, right? Over it with a thick black marker pen. I want you to do something like this, right? Now I want you to do something like this. Right? Because essentially, this is where we're kind of, and then of course we want to get the other hand in there too, right? This is what we're training ourselves to do, right? Look how this lines up with this. Look how this lines up with this. Look how the hair is out here like this, right? We're gonna maybe just do something like that for the hair, right? The hair kind of lines up with that, right? Look how this line is almost with this line, and I didn't even really pay attention to that when I did it, right? I was just looking at the simple anatomical things, right? but my natural instinct, like I said, I got this wrong actually. This arm should have been more like this, right? Which would have made a much nicer pose. So that's my bad. So that's what I have learned. So you go over that, and can we see once? But yeah, I won't be able to do this if this was my sketchpad, right? This would now be my sketchpad. And what you've done is you've created a memory in your subconscious, right? Your subconscious is super important, to train. Your conscious is like, look what I'm doing. Oh, that's the best drawing I've done yet so far in my journey, and I'm really proud of it. Get a thick black pen and say what really what puts this drawing together. So Brittany Goddard, while you've drawn in your pen here, I would like to see you kind of like not trying to create so many likenesses, not trying to get it looking so illustrative. Do that, but then go over on top and see if you've done something off. You've done something off and it needs to be fixed. So I'm going to give you an example. Let me just see if that is it now. We're gonna have a quick look at Cameron. Cameron, one thing I've noticed is I love the faith that you have in me, brother, and I love that you're always following my examples in the free YouTube videos. You don't need to do that, right? I've given you the example in the video. I know that you go away and do it on other stuff as well, but I want you to start trusting yourself before doing that. I want you to start going over the examples in the video. So here with this drawing, what I see is you've spent a bit more time. These feet, Cameron, these feet are pretty big, right? I don't know if her feet were really that big, but what I do know is you've drawn the bones here, but I want you to slow down, right? I know you know the bones and you've kind of memorized it all like that because you've spent a long time doing these things. So if we're going to look at the foot, you need to slow down here, right? So let me get Cameron's work up here again, right? So I'm just going to talk about the foot, right? So I'm going to go to your previous drawing, what you got here, right? Let me use another example. Actually, let me use another example. And Cameron, this time do not do it from my example, right? Do it fresh on your own, right? You've been following me a lot, and that's good, but it's something I said about the trust earlier. I believe, Cameron, now this is between me and you, right? I believe that you have all the information stored in your subconscious, and the more you start to truly trust yourself is when it's gonna really come out. You've made a lot of growth and progress, but when it's what's gonna break through any plateaus that might be forming is when you really start to go with like, I know this now and I'm gonna go accordingly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a foot reference, right? Foot reference image, right? Now I'm gonna find a similar image of feet, right? So I've got 2 feet here, right? I'm gonna do the same thing, right? This time I'll draw in blue, right? So I'm not gonna do a thick line or anything like that. So I'm gonna take this foot here, right? I'm gonna become a little bit bigger with my brush. I'm gonna look at this human foot that I'm going to make a study of, right? Interesting. I'll do all the little veins and stuff in there as well, right? And again, I'm not taking my pen off the page, right? We're just going straight on it, like pure hand-eye coordination, right? Something that we do as a child, right? When we go to a museum trip or a zoo trip, right? I'm not doing anything different. It might look better than a child's effort, but it's the same thing. This is the way we instinctively try to teach ourselves to draw, right? Now I'm using a lot of different tactics, that's true, but I'm just doing hand-eye coordination at the moment, right? Using a technique that I learned from a book that I read when I was 14 years old called The Natural Way to Draw by Kiman Nicolaides, right? So I'm now going to kind of like come in here and let's just fatten that brush up a little bit. I'm going to come in here and detail that foot in, right? Let's clump all these together. Let's have a bit of space between those two, right? And these ones are, this is a great foot because we got all the knobbly foot phalanges. Now I can actually literally see the bones, Cameron, and this is what I want you to, why I want you to slow down, right? Because I know you know all this, right? But you're just kind of scribbling in the bone very quickly. And what you're doing is you're training your brain to kind of half-ass things. When you do that, right? Yes, you're training and you're doing life drawing, but then you got to say, what's it for? So I can become better at drawing, right? So you want to slow down. Not necessarily, yeah, in your figure drawing too, right? So I could put in the veins and all that, but just to speed up, I'm going to tell Cameron what I mean here, right? So Cameron, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, what do I know, right? We got the calcaneus bone and we got the talos bone, which is round about somewhere here like this. And here we've got the cuboid bone. Here that's what my belief is, right? And the talos, the calcaneus bone will be coming along here like this, right? And we got the talos bone here and the navicular bone, right? The navicular is harder for me to see, right? And then actually these cuneiform bones to me are probably going to be here. See, I'm not necessarily going to get it right. And then what we have here is this one here, and the navicular bone comes along here like that with the metatarsals, the metatarsal bones that are along there like that. So let's see what you have, right? Let's see how you approach that. So can you see what you've got here? Is you've just drawn in these kind of like things that represent those things, but you haven't really explored or attempted to get the bones in there, right? You've just kind of filled it in, right? So I am going to go and put in my navicular bone somewhere along here, right? Which actually covers the cuneiforms and the metatarsals. So you see, even right here, I'm kind of like lost a little bit, right? But that's okay, because this is causing me to revise myself, right? And we've got the phalanx that come in here like this. So possibly up here is the metatarsals and the navicular. Honestly, I don't know. See, I have my formula too, Cameron, and I'm glad that I've kind of like not done that as good as I could have, right? Because it shows that I'm kind of been using this formula, calcaneus, cuboid, navicular, cuneiforms, metatarsals, phalanges, right? So when I talk about it, it really looks like I know what I'm saying, right? But I haven't done this particular study for a while, right? And it shows, because as I'm trying to guess where everything is, I'm off, right? I know I'm off, right? So then we have the talos bone here, the calcaneus bone here, right? Which is like this. So it all, you know, the fibula, the tibia, it all has a rough sketch like that. Looks, yeah, man, that's anatomy. But you can see, Cameron, that like if I slow down and I really try to apply that knowledge, it's much harder, right? So it's super, super important for you to slow down a little bit, right? When you're making these drawings. I'm glad that you're doing this perspective stuff because I think this is going to really help you. And again, here, Cameron, as you're doing this, I want you to slow down, and I want you to really try and get those lines straight, right? If you have to do the line more than once, do it more than once, right? Because this kind of way of drawing is great for when we're animating and we're keeping volume, right? This kind of thing. But you've been doing this long enough now, and I want you to start getting more like definite, right? Which is actually happening, but I'm just feeding your brain with these things of what direction you should be going in, right? And I can see that you actually are getting that, right? This is a much better effort here, right? Much better effort here. But again, here with the foot, we want to get a little bit of dimension to this foot here. It's a little flat. This is a better image here. This is better where you've tried. I can see you've tried with the hands there. You've done the radius and the ulnar rotating there. Very good. Yes, Cameron, we're getting better. This is a better drawing. This is a better drawing, right? What I want you to think about, even when you're making live drawings, I know, or drawings from photos, is that I want you to push the curves against the straights. So even if somebody's got a flabby hand and their hand is kind of bumpy like this, right? Like a Miyazaki, I call this a Miyazaki hand, right? Where it's kind of like, I want you to kind of like, just for the meantime, right? Just really push the curves against the straights, right? Just so, you know, hard edge, soft edge, soft edge. This is what we call drawing language, right? Which you know, I know you know this, right? So, eventually you will go back to doing the drawing as you see it, like what I did here, right? Like what I did here, right? But I want you to you don't have to be as graphic, like you don't have to be the whole milk cow kind of thing, which then inspired like Disney's Atlantis. You don't have to do all this graphic kind of thing, but just make sure those hard edges are going with those soft edges. So that is that. Right. Now remember, gang, this stream is not just watching me look at people's work in the growth, development, and progress group. This stream is all about your questions. This is a good one, Cameron. Yes, Cameron, you're on the right track, actually. You're on the right track. These are significantly better than the previous posts. Much better. Let's see those shapes of shadow drawn in, right? Let's see those shapes of shadow drawn in. So when you're shading, don't just come in here and start doing this, right? Draw the shape. I'm just making it up, and then you can go in and go that. I want you to get used to seeing the shapes. So if we have a head, right? This is why painters get away with so much, right? This is such a vague image that I'm just making up this head. I don't know, right? Let's make him kind of bold, right? But then if we come here and we do this, right? and then we literally start. I mean, obviously we need to, a big thick black ink would be better, but if we get used to drawing those highlights or shadow shapes, right? Actually, we can really balance our darks with our lights by blocking in and hatching somewhat, right? So it's more about this that I want you to focus on, right? I just make these few lines here, right? And then I've got something that looks like an ear, right? Not the best. But you see how I'm creating light and dark by drawing the shapes of the shadow. Right? And again, as I said, this is where painters and comic artists can get away with really iffy drawings, right? Really, sometimes poorly formed drawings. Like I had no structure, I just made it up. It's not the best, but it creates an illusion as if it's a lot better than what it is. But what we're focusing on, Cameron, right here in the black will be this, right? And then we can draw another shape and fill it just like that. Yeah, Cameron is the most determined. Cameron has got one of the best attitudes I've ever seen. Right, let's give it a bit more like that. Right. Okay, so that is that. Now remember, gang, this is Charlene's gone off to spend some time with little Charlene. So this is ask the authentic animators answer to everything, so that everything is your questions. I believe that I'm done with the growth, development and progress page for now. There's nothing else to look at. I think I've given a little bit of help and feedback to everybody who I believe I can do so. So awesome stuff. Thank you for posting. By the way, if you wish to join this group, simply go to Facebook and click on Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress. Another way to join is to go to ambanimation.com and let's go to ambanimation.com and oh, it's changed. So you can go to the Real Animator Training dashboard. No, I guess you got to be a member. So members, you can access it from here, the Real Animator Facebook community. So if you're a member, you can easily access the Facebook community. But that said, now what's going on with that link? Why is that link not working? There we are. We've accessed it. Right. So that said, this group is it's free for everybody. It's not just for Real Animator Training Library members. So go and join it. If you're on Facebook, we've got 4,100 members in here, right? So it's a great community for people looking to grow, develop and progress. You got to answer some questions to join, so we don't want spammers and bot people and people just going check out my work. This isn't one of those groups. I joined and I'm currently working through the bouncing ball animations, really trying to make my brain pick up on the things, and then we'll post for sure. Fantastic. Yeah. Don't try so hard. Just allow the process to unfold, because it's actually teaching your subconscious. So if you go to the featured, I think my friend Le Patel is talking about the free videos. Yes, so if you want the free videos, so if you're interested in the Real Animator Training Library, or you are wanting access to free content, you can go to the featured section and you simply copy this password here at the bottom, click on the link, and then we paste in the password, click submit, and you are taken to these preliminaries, which are 9 free archives from the Real Animator Training Library. Now, 1 or 2 of these do not exist in the training library anymore for potential copyright issues. I haven't been approached, but in the world of AI, I've had to take down some of these streams. Now, I got a message about this from Michael Davies, who sent me a private message. Michael, so Michael sent me this message here, and he made a video saying some of the videos aren't showing up, but they're showing up in his dashboard, and that's exactly it. They're showing up in his account. So those of you who were members of the training library and you purchased those archives, which were in like Ask AMB, Dynamic Perspective Part 6 was in Sessions, so that may still exist. I'm not sure if it's still there or not. You can still access those archives because they are there for their legacy members. You can access it. They're just not available to be purchased by new members. So new members will not be able to purchase that. And yes, the anime effects and breakdown archive can no longer be purchased. It is those of you who have it have still got access to it. Everything is there in your account. Go to my account. It's still there. So there we are. That is the free 9 free lectures. 6 of these lectures are from the training archives. You've got the bouncing ball, the swinging pendulum, the basic walk, part 1, the anatomy of the bones of the foot. There you go, bones of the foot. Anatomy of the hand bone group, and jumping with squash and stretch, part 1 from the intermediate archive. You've also got the acting class, which is in the Pick Up and Play, which is no longer a training archive. Pick Up and Play has moved to edutainment because we've got professional animation archive content, which is kind of like the new version. All right, so that's the free online Facebook community for you all to join. Let me see what is happening in the questions. The Gracie's dance looks amazing so far. I love looking at the Facebook reels. Thank you. Yes, Gracie's dance. Let's show you where we're at the moment. This is what we're animating. And if you guys, as I said, if you want me to continue with the thriller, please do consider donating to me, because every little bit helps me continue with these cool little projects that I'm doing on the side. So this is the Gracie animation that we are doing. So we got it right here. Let's put it back there so she looks. She starts walking towards us, does her little weird neck action, gets into position, starts dancing, doing her zombie dance, looks to the screen and gets into position to do more moves. So that is the that's where we kind of are with it. It's a lot of fun. Just watch it, because looking at it with me is being so close to the Cintiq. There we go. Right, so, and the next bit that follows that will be this bit, right? And you can see the construction, which will cause a lot of outrage to some people, but in order to get the animation authentic, I have to construct the character properly, right? And then these are the roughs. So if we scrub that, we have something like this, right? So the foot comes down and we start doing these Michael Jackson maneuvers here. All right. Now, she looks like a vampire. That she is. She's kind of like a vampire, zombie, everything under the sun. Scary, frightening, thriller. Let's have a look at the questions. Do we have any questions? It's so flowing and lovely. Bet it stretches the brain really nicely. Wonderful. I should do more continuous line drawings. They help me loosen up my gestures. Yes, you should all do more of that. Okay, so we don't have any specific questions. Please do ask me if any of you online have got any questions regarding any animation issues or drawing issues or anything that you'd like to work on, or anything that that you feel you'd like me to help you with regarding your animation or your drawing or your artwork. Maybe it's a mindset thing. What I will do while I'm waiting for those questions is I will come here and I will start to do a little bit more of Gracie Goodbear, right? I'm going to work on this drawing a little bit because I think I left it in red because it needs work. So this stream is actually called the Authentic Animator's Answer to Everything, meaning everything that you ask me. Any tips on animating a cape? Okay, cape is simple, follow through, overlap, and drag. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's move on. So anybody who was enjoying Gracie, so do this with me right now. You all want to get better at animation, then do this with me right now, right? Let's do a bouncing ball, right? Let's do the bouncing ball that we do in the basics archive of the Real Animator Training Library, right? Let's do something like this, right? Now I'm going to put in my halves, my halfway positions, right? And I'm going to put in my bottom positions, right? It's like that, right? And I'm just gonna draw them all in, right? I'm gonna draw that in, 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 I'm gonna draw that in. This is kind of like the way I teach it in the basics archive of the training library, right? So if you guys are really interested in learning this stuff properly, what we want to do is you want to go over to Real Animator Training, right? And you don't have to, like, here you go. You click on Real Animator Training. You go to join now, or you can read this, right? I'm just being really quick because you can get bundles and save money, but this archive here, basics, right? Basics ball series. This is on the Facebook group. This one lecture, okay? This first lecture here is in the Facebook group for free, right? But this series, you can see, is what I'm doing very quickly for you right now, right? So you can draw along with me for free, but the real thing is in the training library, right? So I'm going to kind of like say, okay, those are where our key positions are going to be our extreme positions, right? So let me very quickly just blue that in very lightly, and I'm gonna come in here. Why are we doing this? Because we're animating a cape, right? So let's have our ball here like this, right? Then we're gonna put in another ball here like this. Let's put a little bit of squash on him, right? Put a little bit of squash, right? And I'm going to get rid of that, right? Let's see, yeah, let's get rid of that. Bear with me, I made a slight error there. Right, so I'm being quick, right? So no following along step by step with me here, right? Now we're going to throw in, you can try, but it's, you know, I'm not instructing you the way I instruct in the training library, right? So we're going to put that there like that, right? We're going to go here, right? We're going to put another bit of squash in there, but a little bit less, right? And this is a little bit of an improvisation. I don't really do much squash and stretch in the training archive on the ball because you need to learn one thing at a time. And let's put that there. Let's go along. Now there's going to be virtually no squash in this one, just a little bit. None. I'm not going to put any, right? Not going to put any. This is a trip down memory lane, isn't it? I don't think I've done this for a long time, these old school things. Right. And let's just put that there because that's kind of where it would be. Right, so now what you've magically got using the law of arcing and pose to pose and straight ahead, we've got the main parts of the bouncing ball, right? So what am I going to do, right? We're going to animate a cape on this thing, but the cape is going to be done in a straight ahead manner, right? In some ways and the other, using the law of follow through, overlap, and drag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my in-between, my breakdown rather, right? Between there and there, right? So I'm just going to put on the onion skin or the light box. I hate that word, onion skin. Now halfway between here and here, right? I could do it a third. Let me do it a little bit different from the babyish way we learn it, since this isn't training. I'm going to put a third there, right? 1/3 of the way there, right? And I'm going to put my next one 2/3 of the way. Let me just make all of this red for the time being, right? And I'm going to put this 1/3 of the way, right? So this is 2/3 of the way, right? Remember, culture shown art, right? If somebody purchases the basic archive, could they still purchase the bundle without paying twice? If you want to do that, talk to me and I'll put something in the bundle, because in each bundles, you don't have one archive. So even in the master bundle, you have everything, but you don't have the anatomy archive. There's one out of the way, right? And in the training bundle, you literally have a lot more flexibility. So you could have another archive for a little around the same price as the basics archive, right? Give or take, right? We'll do a deal, right? So we have this one I'm going to put halfway, and this one I'm going to put halfway. So culture shown, you were asking me about 2/3 of the way. This is 2/3 of the way. Do you understand? Because 1/3 is here. So I'm jumping away from that 1/3 and I'm going 2/3 of the way, right? And then we're going to just half that and half that. So I've worked out the placement of my breakdowns, right? So I don't need to go and copy this onto every frame, because I'm kind of sharing with you my kind of understanding of that, right? So let's go in here and let's just light blue that in, right? And I might just copy that just so I'll work on the premise of showing you that that's where everything is going. Can you see the little bits of blue on there? Yes, you can. You can just about see those. What is going on and who is he? I'm teaching people the things that will really help them get good at animation rather than just showing off, right? Believe it or not, most people on YouTube would just rather see the showing off, which is why I do it too. But I still give real tips. So we're gonna throw this here like this, right? Just to the person who's asking me, like, who is he and what can he do, right? Here's an example of me just busting stuff out, right? I'm showing off right now, just because I have to, because I get a lot of people coming on these streams not wanting to listen, right? If you want to learn how to animate to an exceptionally high level, right? Come on a live stream and just bust out Disney's Beast when you've never really drawn or animated him before and your audience asks you, right? I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm actually helping people who actually really want to get good at this, right? So we're going to put that right there. Now, did I copy that? Control C. So that goes there, right? 1/3 of the way. Boom. Now we're going to put our next half one in, right? So I'm going to add a frame and I'm going to, is that the pasting? Yeah, we're going to paste that in. And I'm just going to, notice I'm not putting any squash and stretch on this, right? So we got boom, 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 here like this, right? Now we're going to go and add in the next one. And notice how I'm not caring about the volume. I'm using my eye to judge. Use your eye to judge. Develop real skills in volume control by not being on child stabilizers all the time, right? Never use the light box. Right, so we're gonna throw one between here and here. As I said, I'm going very, very fast because this is not a step-by-step training lecture, right? You want that? Join the training library, right? But you can still theoretically slow this YouTube video down. Now I've made a bit of a boo-boo there, but rather than redraw it, I'll just move it slightly there. If you're learning, you should redraw it, right? So I'm gonna put that there. Somebody asked me, how do you animate? Any tips on animating a cape, right? So before we do a cape, we need to have a cause for the effect to take place, right? Which is why we're doing this. We're creating a little bouncing ball pathway, and we're kind of creating a cause and effect, right? The cause is the bouncing ball, and the effect, you can see there's a bit of volume growth growing on there, so we'll just fudge it like that. Is the effect will be the cape, right? Before I go in putting the cape, because I'm still using pose to pose here, and I'm not gonna do the cape follow through overlap on fully in between the animation. It's amazing how just knowing the ins and outs of a pendulum swing bouncing ball helps translate to animating so many other things. Absolutely, that's what the real animator training is all about. I love this. I'm currently animating my own indie series. Please keep going. Thank you. Please do subscribe to my YouTube. Yeah, that isn't because one skill practice two, it looks more fluid because of the slight differences. I'm not quite. No, it's simply ingraining your subconscious. You know how to brush your teeth. You know how to talk. You know how to write. You know how to do many things, perhaps uniquely to you, not just things that we can all do, because you've trained your subconscious how to do it. So the 12 laws of animation need to be ingrained in your subconscious, right? So here we've got like a bouncing ball already, even though it's like still lacking in-betweens, it's still giving a bit of weight to it, right? A nice bounce to it. So what I'm going to do here, so we've used slowing in and slowing out, the three fundamental laws, right? Arcing, the arc of the movement. Timing goes in with the slowing in and the slowing out. Because by adding slow in and slow out, we've created a timing to the ball. And we need to say, will it last 1 second, 2 seconds? So I'm kind of fudging the timing. We should have a timeline, really. When I say timeline, I don't mean some shit at the bottom of the screen in the software. I mean a time window in our head of how long this action's going to take, right? That's real timing. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm gonna throw in some in-betweens. Notice how here, I'm going to go for a naturalistic thing. There's no way in hell that this ball is going to have, you know, this is what really peeves me, because like they read The Illusion of Life, which is, you know, one of the only books on animation, if not the only book on animation that I will recommend, because I haven't written one. Is quite frankly, they think like the Disney animators were talking about The Illusion of Life. But when they're talking about a bouncing ball, they're putting life in it. That book was not written for beginners, right? So all these people putting a stretch on the way down. Like, your ball is not made of jello, right? Your ball is not got his own. He's not like zooming forward with his arms behind his back, determined to kill something. It's just a falling ball from not a very big arc, right? So we're not going to do any of that. We've got a little bit of squash here, but that's it, right? I'm going to add a half. So halfway between there and there, I'm going to add a normal, round, undeformed ball, right? I'm going to throw that in there like that, right? Now coming out of here, we're going to throw in a little bit of that, but not too much, what we talked about, right? So we're going to add in one of here. Now, halfway up here, right? Halfway, right? Maybe not even halfway, right? Halfway, because we're thirds, right? So we're thirds. So this is 1/3. So the other third, which will create a fairly linear movement, but it's not really, because when we put in more in-betweens, it's not. So I'm going to be very kind of careful with my deformation, right? That's enough stretch for me, right? That's not a very big arc, right? And really, there wouldn't really be any stretch at all, right? But we're just pushing it a little bit, right? Because we want to create a nice effect, right? So now we're going to come up there. Now we're going to throw in some more slowing in and slowing out here like this, right? This is a fundamental revision of the basics going on right here, right? Now we're going to throw in another one halfway between the two, right? Now we're going to come down here, and we're going to have another falling ball halfway. You see how we work on halves and thirds and how easy this all is, right? Now there's less squash and stretch here, so we're not going to have any, should I even have 1.5? Yeah, okay, we'll have 1.5. Actually, no, I won't have 1.5. What I'll do is I'll have a favor, right? This is a bit different from what you learn in the training library. We don't really do favors because we are learning halves and thirds, right? So, but I'm going to favor that. That'll give a nice little pop-up out of that, right? And what I'm going to do here, between here and here, which we don't do in the training library, this is more advanced than what we do, is I'm going to favor the up position as well, right? I'm just going to throw in a favor. So a favor is when you got two keys, you're not halfway, you're not thirds of the way, you're right close. You're right close either end, right? That's the favor. You don't really, culture, show, and art, you don't really cover that much in the basics. We just talk very briefly about it, right? So now we're going to come out of that with no in between, no in between, and then no in between, no in between, no in between, right? So we're almost done with our little bouncing ball. How might I improve? I use hybrid animation with blended 2D, 3D environments. I often struggle with squish. Right. Now you've used the word squish. So, Kira, the best thing for you to improve is I know from predicting from the sounds of what you're saying. So what I'm saying to you is as much love is you, like everybody, want to create your own visions and stories and ideas. That's why we do it. And you absolutely should be doing that. But just like an athlete or a dancer that wants to get really good, they need to go away and they need to train, right? Now, what you need to do in your training is you need to focus on the 12 laws of animation, right? You need to make sure that you fully understand timing. You need to make sure that you fully understand arcing. Maybe spend 1 month on each law, 12 months, 1 year, right? Go away, have your time to maybe an hour a day, 2 hours a day, just like Jim. Then you need to fully understand slow in and out, right? Then you need to fully understand pose to pose, how to do it. I'm doing that right now. It's a law. And straight ahead will be the thing that we do with the cape on the ball, right? You need to fully understand what this is. You know, watching a YouTube video isn't good enough. You need to do it like, it's like if I watch somebody working out or telling me how to do a perfect form push-up and I don't do it myself, or I do it once, that's not really going to help me, right? You got to condition yourself, right? Then following that, you got to understand solid drawing, right? These are what we call the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we've missed one. Follow through, overlap, and drag, right? These are what we call the 6 laws of movement in real animator training. The 6 laws of movement, right? There are another 6 laws of life, but I'm not going to talk about them right now. That's more than enough. That's a potential 6 months of training for you to go away and really look into those things. And don't try to implement them with your characters when you're learning, right? Learn them first with simple shapes, be it a circle or a flower sack, right? That's what you should be able to do. I don't really have any printable documents, and I'm not sure how serious you are. You come across as serious, but I do have a training library. There's a link in the description. While it might appear quite pricey, bear in mind it's probably the most affordable system out there, because I've had people who's given Ton Bluth $10,000 of their own money. I've had people who's given CalArts 180 grand of their own money. I've had people who've worked at Disney, people who've worked at Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network join my system, and they literally pay the price of a smartphone or less. So while it might seem a bit, it's entirely up to you. But thank you for asking. I don't have any printable documents. I've got this video. This is free on YouTube. It's not coming down. You can watch the video as much as you like, my friend. So you got these 6 months here to research into these laws. These laws you can find out. I'm sure even Google AI will give you some tips. It's not all going to be correct. It's not all going to be the best. There's a lot of bad people teaching online. But maybe, you know, if you don't want to pay for a course, you can kind of get the gist of each one of these laws and see how you do, right? So thank you for that question. So here we've got this. We can see that we've kind of got our bouncing ball is almost happening, right? So what I want to do, let's just make all of these black. It's as I just want to add a few little bells and whistles. Now, why is that there? A few little bells and whistles to the timing, right? So we got that. It is an absolute pleasure to sit down and have an audience that's actually inspired by the bouncing ball and not wanting me to see me draw a established character or Gracie Good Bear, my own character, or any other character for that matter. This is awesome. All right, now, so we've got that's happening. It's already pretty good. It's got some good life to it. We can see how only 1 or 2 frames have got squash and stretch, but we can still feel those as we go along. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of fun to this, right? So I'm going to add one more favor here, right? Between here and here, right? I'm going to add what we call a favor. I think we do this in the training. I'm just going to throw in no squash, right? At the bottom there like that, right? Right, so we've got that coming there like that. Boom, boom. Now between here and here, I'm going to throw in, actually, before I do that, I might actually kill the animation, but I'm going to throw in one here just to give it a little bit of, this exaggerated hang time is going to give more bounce, right? Right. And maybe it'll allow me to do better things with the cape, right? So between here and here, I'm going to do more exaggerated hang time, right? So I'm going to half that. This is called the law of slowing in and slowing out. Again, this is a very, now I may not want to add an in-between there, actually. Yeah, let's not, right? And I'm going to add just another favor into this, right? Between here and here, right? I'm going to add just another little favor on that ball there, like that. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that's all good. This one I will put out on a half just to slow it down a little bit, right? So I said no in between there, but let's put in an in between there like that. Bum, bum, right? Now what I'm gonna do here is just up this hang time on this ball here, just to give it a little bit of weight, but not on the way out. So slow in, but not slow out. All right, that's enough. That's enough. So what have we got? We got doink, doink, doink. There we go. All right, so doink, 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 doink. Let's look at it on that screen. I'm a little too close. Looking good. There we are. So here we are with the bouncing ball. My pleasure, Kira. I will save up enough to purchase. Could I give you credits and a link to my channel? You can link to my channel as well. By the way, if you'd like me, I can't guarantee any feedback, even to library members, because I always say that, like, people give Don Bluth 10 grand because it's his name and they get to have 1 or 2 encounters with him, right? But the minute you start interacting with people, the price to something goes up. So one of the reasons the price to the library is as low is there is no one-on-one with me, because if there's one-on-one with me, it's going to cost a heap more. But what you can do, what I have done, is that I've created, at the beginning of the stream, this free Facebook community called Growth, Development and Progress. We got 4,000 members in here. And occasionally, just like on today's stream, you'll see that I have given some feedback, all right, to some of the people who've posted. Now, you don't even have to be a member for my feedback. If you look like you're trying, then I'll talk. And by the way, Kira, I'm not sure how old you are, but I often get messages from parents who want to pay for their library members. I say the library is generally designed for young adults, so 18. 18 is a good age, because it's not always a lot of fun, the kind of learning that we do. We don't really draw cartoon characters until later on in the advanced section. We do a flour sack. And some 16-year-olds, with the approval of their parents, have joined, and I've had detailed back and forth emails with their parents explaining to them that there's sometimes a little bit of mature language in the library because my delivery style is very kind of, what's the word, disruptive, if you'd like to say, because I don't like the way things are happening in the animation industry or the animation world at the moment. So I'm a bit of a disruptor in that regard. So the language can be a little bit mature. I'm 17 and I turn 18 in a few weeks. Fantastic. There we are. So I don't need to keep explaining myself. Wonderful. Right. So there we have our bounce. All right. So now we're going to talk about the follow through and overlap of the cape, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the law of follow through and overlap. I'm going to create something reactionary to our ball, right? So let's say that this ball is wearing a cape. So I'm going to give it a band like this. So the first thing I'm going to do before I go drawing in the fun cape thing is I'm going to add a little bit of a cape ring to each of these. One ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness bind them, right? So really, I should be doing this. I should have done this at the key stage, right? But we're having fun, right? If I was going to clean it up, so I'm going to just kind of put this ring shape on here, right? So this will give me a sense of direction of where the ball's head's going to be, right? We're going to do a lot of fun with this follow through, overlap, and drag, right? So now we're going to put a bit of squash on the ring shape. Right? A bit of stretch on it. We can even play with the angle theoretically, but I'm just kind of just throwing it in there, right? It's not really gonna. So before I in between this ball, if I really wanted this to be a proper finished piece of animation, I would have drawn this ring. I would have had a design for the ball and I would have drawn this ring shape in nicely. But I'm playing, right? So it's all okay, right? This is more about how to. Somebody asked me how to add a cape. Any tips on animating capes, right? And it turned more into a lesson on bouncing ball, timing, arcing, slowing in. But the fact of the matter is, the first tip is to understand that the cape is attached to something, right? And I'm now giving that cape the thing that it's attached to, right? I'm giving, like, the cape isn't just a cape without anything, without a neck, right? It hangs off, like it drapes off something. How would I animate smear frames? Don't put them in, okay? This is what I tell people. This annoys a lot of people. So my job is to help you grow and grow in a good way, right? Learn the basics before you try to do smear frames. I'm actually not a fan of smear frames, right? You might be into anime and manga, but that smear frames are a special effect, right? And if you they're like, if you think about it, cameras are all in HD now, so they're kind of like trying to like do motion blurs stylistically or kind of fill in gaps for movements for movement. A lot of beginners do smear frames because they don't understand how the thing moves and they fudge it with a smear frame. Now, if you really wanted to do that well, a good smear frame, learn the real movement and then you can make a designer smear that actually has a lot of information, appeal, and class to it. But there's a culture of smear frames on the internet. So I've got to say this because you mentioned interested in purchasing the library. The library is actually not really a place for everyone, because a lot of people just want to kind of jump ahead and do things, but we call it the Real Animator Training Library. Now, what that means is it means the user has to get real with themselves first. It's like, what do I know? How good am I? And what should I really be investing my time, effort, and energy into? Now, if you're kind of trying to do the finished thing right now and you're happy, then you're happy. It's good. You don't need to learn. You're happy. But chances are a lot of people aren't happy, and it's like banging their head against a brick wall. They keep doing the same old shit, excuse me, and they keep getting terrible results because they're literally, it's like somebody who's never learned gymnastics trying to do a somersault, except they probably will break their head and neck and die. But with art and animation, you can get away with doing the same, applying the same mentality, right? You really gotta go and learn the absolute basics and build a proper foundation to rest your house on. Right, so here we've now got like a ring attached to our ball, right? So I've now got some direction, which I've changed the direction of this, right? I've put a bit of life into this ball, even though it was not supposed to like have life, right? So now I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna start doing some basic pendulum kind of exercises. It's gonna trail, right? So I'm just gonna put one line there like that. It's gonna trail, right? We're just gonna trail it, and I'm gonna keep the trail going, right? So the trail is there like that. It's literally like having a tail, right? Now look how the trail is now wanting to go in this direction, right? As the ball's coming down, that's wanting to go there, but we're going to create a pull, right? So we're creating a kind of like, almost like a squash, because it's creating this shape here. But now we're going to create a pull where it's not quite gone back on itself, right? It's pulling down in this direction here like that, right? So what I want to do is I want to think that I'm attaching it round about here, right? So I'm getting careless, right? So I want to, on the pull, I want it to attach there as well. And you'll see why later on, right? So we're pulling down here like this, right? Now, as we're pulling down here like this, I'm going to kind of have it kind of like bend again, right? So remember the wave principle, right? So the wave principle is you've got a straight line here, and then you start the wave, and then the wave goes here, and then it goes there, and then it goes there, right? And then it goes back on itself, right? So it goes reverse the curve, right? So you're going to kind of see, again, this is very, very quick stuff. Silver Sun, how are you doing? So we got it trailing like this, right? Now we're going to kind of make more out of this shape, right? Like this. It would be nice if I had a bit more time to have it land on the floor, but we're just rushing, right? So can you see how it's trailing? That's all it's doing. Now, I'm going to have it kind of, it's being pulled up now, right? Here it was trying to catch up on itself and land, but it's being pulled in the other direction, just like a tail, right? So we have something like that. And obviously, you've got to go back and make pose to pose and straight ahead out of this stuff, because if you don't, you're going to kind of ruin the volume of your cape, right? So here the same thing is happening, right? It's wanting to go up and he's traveling that way, right? So as he's traveling that way, this is still going up, but now he's going this way. And he's still going this way, so we can slow in nicely to that, right? Because he's not pulling it so much at the moment, right? But now he's pulling it. So as he's pulling it, I'm going to reverse it, right? You see the wave? It's being reversed. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Right? And then I'm just going to pull that like that. Right? I don't even know how this looks, right? I haven't tested it yet. Let's just have a little look. Right? We can see something happening there. That little pull is a little bit too much, right? That little reverse curve. It's a little bit too much, which is why I thought I was kind of wanting to test. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to tone it down, right? It's the right idea, but it's a little too much, right? So I'm going to, as it goes up here like this, that's a little bit too much, right? So we want to get rid of that. So this is where the whole exaggeration thing. Now, why did it do that? Press the delete button. Has to be factored in to the equation, right? So I need to pay a bit more attention. So here I will put the light box on because I'm going to kind of I think I'll use this red. So we're going to keep that shape, right? The reason why it felt extreme is the arc is not that, the timing is not that dramatic as it was before, right? So we're going to tone it down. Right, we're going to keep the S there like that. That's all gone. Then we're going to bring it back on itself like that. That's good. Let's try that. Still got a little bit of that going on, but I can live with that because of what I'm planning with the cape hair will be nice. So as we go hair like this, and this is it. You see how much fun we're having, and the timing and the time it's taking to do all this stuff, right? Fantastic. This is what I want. I want the nice settle of all this stuff to the floor, right? Then the pull. Right. Boom. Okay, that's what I wanted. Let's have a look. Boom. Boom. Yes. Perfect. Boom. Boom. So we got it coming in here. So it's like giving it a tail, but the tail is not alive, right? The tail is dead and it's simply following everything. Right. A little bit too much there. Again, we want to be very, very subtle with this thing. So can you see how I'm having to really, really almost make the follow through overlap? Like the young animator or the beginner is very, very tempted to overdo everything, right? But it's literally the case. Now, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe it should be like that. So I'm toning it down. So that's in me telling me reverse that curve, but I have to think about the amount of movement that's taking place, right? And then the delay of that cape. What really will be happening? So it will really kind of be hair like this, you know, and then that'll create a more drag onto the floor like that, right? And it's still kind of on the floor here. It's because there's very little movement happening, right? It's more still going to be kind of on the floor there, right? So very quickly, what are your pronouns? Do you have a nickname? I'm an old man. That's what it is. Born before the pronouns. Just the old man. Just a man. That's what it is. So please subscribe to this wonderful person. Thank you. How might I apply with this storyboarding? Okay, the storyboarding is a completely different. No, it's all good. It's all good. You can't be disrespectful to me. You've given so much good energy, my friend. I'm very grateful to be answering your questions. I'm not so easily triggered. I'm here to help, and I'm very grateful you're asking questions. Storyboarding and animatic are not really, though they're related to animation, that's more what we call filmmaking. So now I know that you're only 17 and you're saving up, and I'm not trying to sell you anything right now, but I feel the best thing I can do is show you this, so you kind of understand the difference. So in my Real Animator Training library, all right, I've got various archives. Now, I've got to show you this so you understand what the difference is. Now, we've been talking about basic animation, intermediate animation, the 6 laws of life, the 6 laws of movement, blah, blah, blah. But in storyboarding, if I go into hair, I'm not even going to mention the archive or what it is or whatever, but I'm going to tell you this, right? When you do storyboarding, now I've got 7 lectures, and this is an overview to prepare you, right? So you need to understand how to communicate with the audience, all right? You need to learn that. You need to learn about editing and continuity. You need to learn about camera angles and shots, and you need to learn about camera moves and transitions. You need to learn about background sets and props. You need to learn about shot composition. And you need to learn about mood lighting, color, and camera lenses. So all of those are very different to making things move and understanding how to make things move. Oh yeah, he's just telling you that I don't talk about software because part of the reason why so many people are so bad at animation and why so many people are so scared right now, it's because they put their faith and trust in software, and basically now AI has shown them that it can do what they can do, right? Because they didn't really learn how to animate. They just learned how to fiddle about with the software and create something full colored and finished. And I always tell people that for me, if you're going to talk about the software, you may as well be talking about the brand of toilet or something. So he's just talking about that I don't really talk about software. So so here we've kind of got an effect of the start of the cape, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to now make this more cape-like, because I've got a path. I've got a kind of guide for my cape. So Another way that you're going to be good at doing capes is you got to be able to understand how to draw capes, right? So I'm going to kind of put a little kind of thing on here, and I'm going to put an underside which will be going on the other side, right? Like this, right? Right, like that. And I might put a little buckle, right? Just to make it interesting, right? Like that. So there we've got our cape thing there like that. So now we're going to see what happens with this. So I'm gonna make it a little bit thinner and get the underside, make the underside, not much movement will be going on there, right? Not much, right? Just something like that. Right, we've got something like that. And we've got this one. So you can see how the thing that I'm doing is thinking about where that cape is, what that cape's doing, right? So now we're going to have a little bit of a different shape. I'm going to throw in some kind of in between there, like that. Not in between, but underside of the cape. What have we got there? We've got something like that. There. Right. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slightly adjust this. Right? Because I was talking about the pull, but I want the cape to look more cape-like, right? So because my drawing is very rough, so I'm going to see a bit of the other side of the cape, right? Coming here like this. All right, I'm gonna have, so we're not seeing the underside of the cape on this frame here, like this, right? Really, it would be like something like that, right? Underneath, right? And here, we're gonna have it, I'm gonna kind of follow my shape, but now I've got the cape kind of gone in there, right? So I'm gonna, would it be like this? This one will be coming here, like this. Maybe it'll be a little bit fatter on this side, right? And we'll have the buckle there like that. Yeah, that's good. Now I'm going to test the flow just so I can see. Yeah, that's good, right? You can see how now we're adding a little bit of drapery, so it's going to help, right? That you obviously, while I've shown you the animation movement side, it's going to help the more you understand if you do life drawing or study what a cape will look like, right? So it's very, very important that we don't learn, and since I've got a younger member who's very enthusiastic, we don't just learn how to draw capes of cartoon characters that we like, right? If I like Beauty and the Beast, I wouldn't learn how to draw the Beast's cape. I would more look at a real cape, right? I would be looking at a real cape more than a cartoon cape. Or if I'm into anime, I might like to draw anime characters with capes or Batman. But really, the best thing I can do is let's just put a bit more size to that, like that. The best thing I can do is study from life, right? I know a lot of beginners and a lot of kids and a lot of people who are wanting to learn animation really don't like hearing that, right? Because they want to draw what their art teacher told them what they shouldn't be drawing, right? Well, your art teacher is half right, but the problem is I'm telling you that you need to draw this, learn this stuff in order to make you good at drawing what you want to draw. That your art teacher, I really respect the stuff that your art teacher perhaps doesn't, right? But I'm telling you, like, you gotta learn to kind of, this is actually, I think, be better like that. You gotta learn that, like cartoons and anime, Disney, whatever, Marvel, they're simplifications of real life. So you need to learn the real thing, right? So you need to study how real folds of a garment. I used to get so excited because I used to learn from this guy who worked with this guy called Uli Meyer that was big in the 90s. He designed the Schwack hammer in Space Jam and was responsible for American Tail 2, the Wily Burp and all that. And he used to draw suits like this where you just construct it and you ruffle up the suit and you kind of like put a few lines here like this and a few lines here and bingo. And I used to think, wow, look, I can do really convincing drapery, but it's all right. But you can really make that a lot better if you truly understand that here's a chest hair and how this curls under the bicep shape and how this actually has a seam here and the shoulders hidden underneath, and then you can make it a lot better, right? Understanding the way it would really, if it was really, you know, from doing lots of real life drawing and real study, right? So I urge you to make proper studies, right? So now here, because this was the theory, right? But now I'm adding the weight of the material. The other thing to think about, which I didn't talk about, like, is I'm going to change some of these keys because as we're doing a cape, I have to think about what kind of material is this, right? So I'm going to think about changing. Well, no, actually, let's keep it simple. I was gonna think about changing the path of that, but let's keep it simple. We may have needed another in between, but so what I'm gonna do here is actually this will be here like this. We'll start to see the underside coming through again there like that, right? So again, I really want to attach this so we're seeing the underside coming through here like this. All right. Here we are. I only use drapery after drawing the base figure. That's correct. Fantastic. But being decent at drawing is good. But it's also, when we draw for animation, since you're very enthusiastic about getting better, we have to also draw a bit different to how an illustrator would draw. We would have to use something called shape simplification, which illustrators use as well, but animation shapes are coded for transformation into other shapes, like the way a Picasso does with cubism and stuff like that. So again, your art teacher was probably right when they told you to look at Picasso, even though you thought Picasso was crap. You know, I was guilty of that when I was young, right? In hindsight, I take it back, right? Now we're gonna push this shape a bit, and I'm gonna see the other side of the cape, right? This is where we're gonna get more exciting with the follow through of the cape, right? It feels more like a cape than a dodgy tail, right? Because a tail would not just react the way I animated it. The tail would be a little bit. That's good, right? So we're gonna build this up. We're gonna have that ruffle and crease a bit more, and that'll allow me to add a bit more twist on the cape, right? That'll really give the cape some volume and body, right? I could be going a little bit over the top without, so yeah, perfect. That's how we're gonna improve that, right? See the underside of the cape there. How are we doing for time on this stream? 2 hours in. How are you doing, Dylan Royer? Thank you. The ordinary ball puts on a cloak and now becomes a secret identity shuttlecock. There you go. I like that. Animation skill lies within the person's subconscious. Okay, Real Anima, I hope these tips are helping you. This is Real Anima's question on any tips on animating capes, right? A good way of animating capes is to sing the Batman theme when you're animating the Danny Elfman one. I'm half joking, right? Maybe there's a theme of another superhero or cape-wearing character that you like, but one of the things that really helps you do good work is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is it's vitally important, right? Real enthusiasm, right? Not forced enthusiasm. That could work. Yeah, it could end up being a little bit like a fish fin. I could end up... One of the dangers of getting too adventurous with this without reference, which is why real animators should, you know, really, if you're not going to want to animate with reference, then study more and build a library of reference in your mind, is that you don't want these things to end up having a life of their own, right? So I have to be very careful with this point, because this is where I got caught up before. Is like I started giving the follow through, overlap and drag a life of its own, right? So I'm gonna try and turn that cape out on itself, right? Right, like that. Once I'm done with the cape, I'm going to see what other fun feature I can put on this ball. I like that twisting cape. Let's see if that's too much before we go any further. No, it's perfect. Perfect. We're really throwing something on there, which will be what we need. So I hope I'm inspiring you to play with bouncing balls, right? And swinging pendulums, because they truly can be a lot of fun, right? So now we're going to have a little kind of S shape in there, yeah. So that's where that's gonna grow. The cape is probably not really true to volume, because what I would need to do after roughing it is I would need to do keyframe animation. Like I need to go back and pick out which ones are my definitive keyframes and just check the volume and the distortion. Perfect. We're back. So we're gonna face plant our ball friend. Add some buckling on the cape. Have it be more coming down like that. And the other side would be coming through. Like this. Probably like that. But we drew that square shape there, so we're going to keep the ugly square shape. Right. Here, like this. Put some lines there like that. There we go. Yep, absolutely, Grayson. You're absolutely right. You did get my first email. For some reason, they went to spam. Yeah, you got to check your spam folder more and more in these days where, you know, they claim they want to protect you from spam, but you're constantly being bombarded with the worst kind of advertisements everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna really play with this, right? Maybe that could be a bit too much, giving too much of a life of its own. I'm gonna keep it, and then if it's no good, I'll delete it. Lead by example, right? Don't get too precious. What did I say earlier about getting precious? We need more. Actually, that should be like that. Let's see. It should be like that. There, that's better. Now, this is where we're going to have fun with the draping of the cape. So, this is actually very much a demonstration, right? You can't really learn. This is nowhere near like what my training is, because you can't really learn all the subtleties and nuances that I've given this cape from this very quick, just busting through it, right? But I have kind of, hopefully I've disclosed some good stuff. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. That's we are. So we're going there like that. And of course, this cape is an impression, so AI will never do a cape like this, right? AI will look at real world dynamics and give you a real cape, like taken from some other thing, right? This is my artistic interpretation of a cape, right? Based on my memory of what a real cape would do, right? Quite probably the real cape will not in any way, shape or form do what my cape is doing, right? Yet somehow I have created an impression that has appeal. Which is beyond what AI can comprehend, right? AI will look at whatever kind of established sources there are for dynamics, which is why I was never really into CG animation so much. And we've got a lot of people on LinkedIn moaning about AI CG animators who are retraining to stack shelves. One guy had showed himself with an Oscar, right? He was part of an award-winning VFX team. Again, that in itself is delusion. You're part of the team and you want to say you won an Oscar. Okay, I hope my stream is coming, right? And then he said he had to kind of quit it, and now he's doing something like stacking shelves or something. Stacking shelves is as important as CGI. No, I'm joking, right? I'm like, stacking shelves is way more important, right? Stacking shelves is actually a very important thing. We all need to do it. We all need to stack shelves of useful information, even in our own mind. But you kind of know what I'm saying, right? So my point is not to rubbish CGI, but as a hand-drawn animator, or what I call a real animator, who hasn't depended on software in any way, shape, or form to create my movements or my artwork. I'm depending on software to teach you guys by recording the screen, all right? Before somebody says, well, you're using software now. Right, so the thing is, I'm depending on software to make my workflow faster. But the actual art that I'm doing can all be done on paper. And I used to do it on paper for 8 years of my life when I quit uni and became a professional hand-drawn animator, right? Then it all switched to software, right? Now this cloak is getting progressively shorter, but that's all right, right? You get the idea, right? We'll have to go back and refer to the previous keys to make it longer and all that, right? I will make this one a little bit longer. So when hand-drawn animation, this changeover happened and CGI people came and took over hand-drawn animation, there were suicides in hand-drawn animation. And now I'm reading about suicides in CG animation. Some people have taken their own lives because of what's happened to their career and their industry. And that really is very sad. That really is very sad. Doesn't matter whether you're a hand-drawn animator or a computer-generated automator or image maker. it really is very sad when you feel that there's no purpose on earth and all your worth was in a commercial industry that really doesn't give a damn. I woke up to this a long time ago because I went through it with hand-drawn animation. And that's when I transitioned from an animator into a storyboard artist. I briefly tried CG and hated it so much that I was contemplating doing cage fighting. But then as a traditional martial artist, I didn't like cage fighting either. So I really was kind of lost. And then somebody gave me a trial out as a storyboard artist. And bingo, I ended up loving storyboard even more than animation, right? So the point I'm trying to make is AI has not really mentally affected me so much because I don't care how, what's the word, mean-spirited or ignorant or whatever some people might say this makes me sound, but as a hand-drawn animator, I never really regarded CG animators as animators anyway. I knew they were animators, I knew what they were doing was animation, but I never respected it in the same way that I respected hand-drawn animation, purely because a CG animator doesn't know how to draw, doesn't understand the dynamic. As I'm drawing this cloak, I'm feeling the material in my mind. Like they use the pre-programmed dynamics to help them with follow-through and overlap. A lot of them, some of them may have been sculptors and artists, and in that case, I would respect them. But the majority of them were pretty much like what I consider an AI person or an AI animator to be. Like literally you're using pre-built rigs built by somebody else, boned by somebody else who understands anatomy, and lit and rigged by somebody else to make it look all flashy for the audience to be fooled and wowed by, right? And the thing you're doing is a few little movements that you've kind of memorized and learned. Now, there are some creature animators in CG who will prove me wrong 100%, and I'll concede to that. But I'm kind of talking about the vast majority of cartoon animators out there in the CG world that did these things. And I never really personally regarded them as animators. So AI comes along and I'm like, what's new? This is kind of the way it's been done. Like they've got rid of the operator now, and the machine is doing it without the operator. But what I'm doing here is very different. I'm using the machine of my body to communicate with my brain, going through my feelings and emotions. Every mark that's made is my own. Everything I've wanted to communicate is my own. Even my understanding of drapery is my own. As I said, an AI would create a pre-referenced drapery and would probably animate the drapery a lot more naturalistic than what I'm doing here. Will it be as good? From a realism point of view, perhaps, but not from an appeal point of view, right? So that's what the beauty of hand-drawn animation is, right? So as I'm coming here to turn over, I've got to reverse the angle of this cloak to really have it settle down now, right? So this is one of the things that I'm absolutely love about the present time that we're in. The present time that we're in is a time for art to return to artists, right? Because a lot of people got a free ride from not doing the study, from having a machine do things literally for them. Now, they won't like me saying that. They will say, no, we did it. So maybe a small percentage all right? A small percentage perhaps built their own models and knew about muscles, knew about deformations, built their own rigs and built their own squash and stretch in the rigs and animated their own drapery. Maybe a small percentage, but the vast majority of them used something that was pre-programmed, even down to the rendering and the coloring. You know, they don't understand color theory. They don't understand illustration, drawing. Not even to I'm not claiming that I understand it to an exceptionally high level. I understand enough of it, but I would hire a painter to paint my color direct my project if I had the budget, because I want somebody better than me. But at least I know. At least I can kind of do it myself, right? A lot of these guys couldn't. So the whole AI thing for me is a plus. It's a positive, because it's kind of opened the door for people who are truly passionate about art to continue doing their art, right? Because whether AI can do it or not, whether AI may be able to do it better or not, that's debatable, but some of you might feel inferior to AI. Well, gosh, AI can bust out an anime character way better than I can draw one, and I'm miserable about that. But let me just see about that. I think we're going to change that. We're going to change that. The thing to remember is, why are you, ask yourself a question. Why are you drawing? Why did you draw when you was a child, right? What was your why, right? What was your why? Why did you draw when you was a child? And would you stop drawing now just because AI exists, right? Would you stop drawing now, right? Ask yourself that. This is a tricky one here, and this is what I love, right? I love being challenged. I love being challenged. Here I am doing something on a live stream that I show off and call relatively easy, right? But I'm finding myself challenged, and I'm enjoying that, right? And that's the human aspect of why we do what we do, right? So it's extremely important to grasp this. Now, when you've lived your life using equipment and you don't really know anything about drawing and you're playing around with things built by other people, which is essentially what people using AI are doing, right? So you're a CG animator that's never drawn in your life. You've never built a sculpture in your life. You've constantly just played around with things that were pre-built for you. Well, now's your opportunity. If you love what you do, regardless of whether you're making money out of it and doing a job out of it, now's your opportunity to learn how to do it for real. And that's what real animation is all about. Learn how to draw, sculpt, animate, use your hands to truly create the art that you're creating, right? Some of them did not do it for art. They did it for glory, for fame. I want to work on Star Wars. I want to be part of the industry. I want my work to be, I want to tell people that I worked on Star Wars. I want to tell people that I worked for Disney. I want to feel special, right? Some people do it for that, right? Well, in that case, You can still do that, get very good at AI, perhaps, get very good at prompting, and the industry will be your friend in that regard. Now, I'm talking away and I may be losing concentration. No, yeah, that's actually good. We're actually bringing the cloak to a somewhat standstill there, right? So, the important thing is, if you're finding yourself at a crossroads, or you're unhappy and you're looking for something to blame, and that thing could well be AI, right? Real animator training is all about getting real with yourself, right? Ask yourself, why did you want it in the first place? What was your why, right? I don't care whatever happens as long as I'm on this earth. I will always draw and animate and create my own cartoon characters. And personally, unless, I can't say never, because one doesn't know what one's forced to do in the future. And one may even have to use AI to log into their bank, right? So I can't really comment if I'll ever, but I personally would rather not touch AI, right? Because I'm the genuine article. I'm not artificial. I'm authentic. I'm an authentic human being, right? So, and if I use AI to even color my own drawings, right, and base it on my own drawing style, what I'm doing is I'm missing an opportunity to develop my craft further, right? Because I'm being lazy. Now, yes, if your goal is to make a finished thing and you need to be economical and on time, one can argue the other reasons, positive reasons of using AI, and I concede all that. But personally, maybe AI may be the next phase of real intelligence. Maybe it's the infinite intelligence looking for a new body and using us to make it. I don't know. I can't go that far. But as long as I'm around, I want to use my equipment. I want to use my equipment, and I want to be fulfilled by that. Exactly. Thank you. Amazing. I'm glad that I can connect with you, Kira, a killjoy. It's always a great attitude to physically overcome challenges, building up a skill. Exactly. Would you stop something you love just because something else is better? Absolutely. What is better, There's plenty out there that I could call better than my stuff, but then I ask my question, do I really want to create things that look like those things? No. Okay, so here we've got a rough kind of idea, right? Now my little I'm going to turn that off because my little window of my face is kind of interrupting that. We've got a rough quick thing of a bouncing ball with a cape, right? That's that we very quickly blocked out. Hopefully that's given you some, you can really see the movement of the cape, how it reacts to the speed of the bounce, and the material has a certain weight to it. And I've really exaggerated this bit here where it kind of gets longer and drags along with the ball as the ball continues to bounce, right? So we've got a sense of material there all reacting. How are we doing for time with this stream? I didn't plan on this stream being so much fun, actually. What I'm going to add to this is, let's add something. Let's think about what we can add to this. Let's add some arms to the ball, right? Let's just have some fun and add some arms to the ball, right? Let's go in with a blue. I don't know, why don't we add a hat to the ball, right? Let's add a hat to the ball. Let's put on something like this, right? Just dealing with a triangle at the moment, right? I'm going to rough something in very quickly, right? Let's say the hat is almost coming off the ball. Let's try and be cute with this. Let's have a little bit of a light box on there. So the hat, we'll have the hat go off the other way. And then what it'll do is it'll start to fall down. Right. Just missed it by once. So what we want to do is we want to have the hat here. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to kind of have, I'm going to animate backwards on myself, right? I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to put that there, actually. Actually, no. Let's put that 2/3 of the way away. I'm animating backwards. So this one, I will move there like that. This could be trying to be too cute for my own good, but let's see. Nice. Right. Yeah, we've got a hat. That's kind of falling on the ball, right? So we're playing with the physics now as he comes up. You see how much fun you can have with basic shapes? Right. I made a short animated movie and I feel that I had managed the time a bit more, I would have turned out better. How do you suggest managing my time? I'm not sure if, managing your time doesn't necessarily make something better. Focusing on the right things make it better. So that's a loaded thing. I made a short film, right? So was your film, what was the goal of making your short film? Was it to make a great piece of animation and showcase your animation skills, or was it to tell a certain story, right? So it's not so much about how you managed your time. It's probably more about what's going on with the hat here? Probably more about where you focus to use your time, right? Probably more about the hat will start to come off here. So I may have to replay with this. So, did you use your time on the story? Planning the story, planning the characters, planning the environments? Or was that time used, coloring in, rendering and trying to make it look finished? Right, now this could be a problem here. I need to probably retrack and go backwards here. Nah. The hat goes down. Okay. Then it goes down. It could be falling off on him. Let's try. So it's more about where you focus your time, right? What are you going to do with your time? Are you playing to your strengths, right? Some people that want to make films, I question, okay, well, what's your why, right? Why do you want to make the film? And if it's something like I want to get better at animation, no, practice animation then. Don't try to do two things at once, right? You don't make a film to get better at animation, right? You practice animation to get better at animation. So it's focus. Focus your time on the right things, on your why, right? Everything has to have a focused reason. Now this hat nearly comes off. Now I might try and do something here, right? This thing will be different. Let's try and be a little bit cute again. Again, this would not be the real physics of it all. Let's have the hat a little bit ahead of him. So that means we want this coming up here like this. So then this one will have flipped over. Like this. Yeah, he could maybe... The hat shouldn't bounce. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm trying something that maybe it's in my head, but it's not really. So let's see. If it doesn't work, I'll just have to go back to the other thing. I'm being extremely playful here. No, that's just trying to be. Well, I don't know. Comes off his head. Yeah, he gets it. Let's try. Let's try. It's not exactly great, but you can see how you can just really just play and just have fun, right? Now he'll go back on his head again. As it goes back on its head, I'm going to change its angle. This would probably be more what it is, just stuck to its head at the end. I'm just drawing anything now, just not even really paying heed to how it animates. All right. The goal was to both make something fun and to prove that I could meet a deadline without the project ending up as overdue. I failed on the second front. I had to go over 3 days. That's okay. You could call it a failure, but some of the best directors in the world have been overdue, but that's not to make excuses. I guess as you were going, you should have had an idea of what it is that you were doing, and where, again, to focus your energy, and then pull focus, or possibly cut certain things that were perhaps too ambitious or that could not really be fit into it. What is that? Let's have a look at that. All right, so we've got something like this, like a little kind of fun hat, which doesn't really, the second bounce is kind of like way shouldn't even be happening, but it kind of works, which is what I'm talking about. Like, if AI did it, AI wouldn't know how to do it and make it look good, because AI would try to use real dynamics, which hand-drawn animators just exaggerate. And then if AI would have tried to cartoonify it, they wouldn't have used the slowing in and slowing out and picked the points that I used to do that. So here's an example of something that feels very natural, but is in no way natural, right? A cape on a ball with a hat landing and bouncing on the ball, landing on and off, coming off and landing on the ball as it bounces and moves, kind of creates this illusion, right, of fun movement animation. So that's essentially it. Great tips there. Didn't think that I would every transgression must serve as a lesson. Absolutely. When you're losing, you're learning. When you're losing, you're learning. So let me change. So ultimately, it's been a fun live stream. We've had some really good questions. We've looked at some great work in the growth, development, and progress community. But what I want to say is ultimately focusing on your animation fundamentals, your drawing fundamentals, are essential to you getting any good at this. They're very, very important. So yeah, I'm gonna call it on this. Just what we were briefly saying, the goal was to both make something fun to prove that I could meet the deadline without the project ending up as overdue. I failed on the second. I had to go 3 days over. Well, again, just focus, and then also analyze. There are a lot of people that say my goal was to do this and I didn't do this, but if the project was better for it at the end of it, I don't think that was a failure. I used to be a very strict disciplinarian, very harsh on myself. I had a background, I have a background in martial arts, and I used to instruct it. And as I've kind of matured and looked at the results that I've had over the years and how hard I was on myself in regard to certain things, I have to say that sometimes the strict discipline is not always the best way. It's a good way, and it's an effective way, and one should follow strict discipline. Just like any other rule, if you're going to supposedly break, which I never believe break. I believe you work with the rules and understand the rules in order to work around them, which is not really breaking them. I'm not playing with words because the rules are there, and you're still very much taking those rules into consideration, or those laws. So I would say that I've understood that actually to live a disciplined life and to be disciplined is amazing. There was a time when I would wake up every morning and I would do 200 press-ups and 400 sit-ups without fail, and I did that for 10 years. I don't do that anymore. I do other things. And I'm still, I'm almost 50 and I'm still in great shape. And I am now more relaxed with my diet. But having that discipline instilled in me enabled me to maintain a high level of excellence, but at the same time not mentally suffer through personally constantly judging myself on success and failure. So while I say to you, yes, it's good to meet your deadline, but look at the project and ask yourself, were these things that I did where I could have cut back on, do they really make the project better? And if they do, and you've got a great project from it, then fantastic. Now, when you said that what could I have done to make the project better, I noticed that you didn't talk about the results, right? You talked about, you set yourself a goal and you wanted to have fun. So you had fun and you didn't meet the goal. Okay, you failed in not meeting the goal, but as I said, the standard of work was better. And if the whole project was about having fun and the consequences were not life or death, then it's okay, right? It's okay. Sometimes we must be like that, the dude, and simply abide. I think you should use a middle blend of discipline and freedom. Absolutely, but I think it's good to go through. It's good to go through extreme discipline for a small period of time, not necessarily 10 years, but a sustained period of time, just so you understand, just so you condition your subconscious with the ability to channel that. I can channel that discipline anytime I want to. My wife doesn't believe it. Like, I will have a holiday and I will eat whatever I want and not work out and for a month, and then I'll come back and say, I'm not going to touch meat for 2 months. Now, to a vegetarian or vegan, that's very simple, right? But I'll say I won't touch meat for 2 months. I will only have one meal a day, and I will have a smoothie for my other meal, a NutriBullet smoothie with veg. And that's what I'll do for 2 months. And I'll work out. I'll work out every day, and I'll do that. And I'm back. I'm back to my thing, and I can channel that anytime I want to. So it's good to basically, just like a phone has its operating system, you all have your own operating system. And to be aware that you are the architect, you are the programmer of your own operating system. Now, you've been pre-programmed, and arguably by listening to me, I could potentially be programming you too, but I'm not. I'm trying to avoid that by telling you this. So we've all been pre-programmed and preconditioned, even through subconscious programming, constantly seeing logos everywhere we go, thousands, millions of times in our life. We don't think it means anything, but subconsciously that logo means something. So the McDonald's arches, for example, the certain sounds like the refrigerator beeps and we've got to stop it. The car door beeps and we've got to stop it. The phone beeps and we've got to stop it and look at it. So we've all been conditioned and pre-programmed in some way, shape, or form. But isn't it nice to know that your Each and every one of you is the individual architect and the programmer of your own operating system. Potentially, you can delete pre-programming and reprogram, but that takes a bit of time, that takes a bit of a while. So it's important to understand that when you undergo a task, you undergo it through a sense of programming your subconscious, not just consciously observing what happens and was it successful and was it failure. Success and failure are meaningless. Really, they're two sides of the same coin. It's your opinion that deems one or the other. The result simply just is. And what the real occurrence, what's going on is an experience. Your subconscious, I don't like the word subconscious, but it's something that we can all use arguably, but there's only one consciousness, and I guess the things that your immediate level of awareness is not on, which I call your subconscious, is actually absorbing most of the detail. And your little bit is just looking at that one thing and saying, I failed, I failed, I failed. I put it to you that you probably succeeded by actually seeing the thing through and going for it. You built an experience that you'll be able to draw on again and again in your life. And the more you do that with healthy, constructive, again, what is healthy, what is constructive, it's all down to your personal truth, your personal choice. Once you have chosen those things, that's what I believe to be free will. Once you have made the free will to choose those things, then it's your experience to pursue them. And there can be no defeat. There can be no failure that way. Get out of the realm of competition. Remain within the realm of creation. You don't really fail unless you completely give up. Well, I mean, even that, in some regards, could be the opening of a new door to a much happier, more potentially greater future for you, which you're not fully aware of. So, if you're, I was talking about focus earlier, so it kind of contradicts what I'm saying now, kind of contradicts, but the whole world is a contradiction. But so if your focus is on one thing and you give up on that, then yes, you have, by that, in terms of that focus, have failed. But my more holistic talk now is do not get bogged down by it. Because as I say, the Latin word for person is a Latin word, persona, meaning mask. And we all wear masks and we can choose who we want to be when we want to be. When I interact with my daughter, my wife, my friends, my associates, I may wear a dominant mask that is consistent, has consistent qualities with all the other masks that I wear. And yes, that's a consistent part of my dominant personality, but the mask changes. It changes, it has to. We all do it. Even when we talk to our cats or our dogs or our babies, we put our voices like Mickey Mouse, or we do little things. Even that, my friends, is a subtle shift in persona. So you are infinite, and you have infinite personas, and you can channel any one of them anytime you want to. And sometimes when you're not feeling healthy about the results that one particular persona has given you, change the persona. Change it for a little while, and then wear the mask again when you're feeling better. Chad is very wise. I also think it's important to learn teamwork. Yes, teamwork is a very good thing. That's what filmmaking and collaboration is all about when you work on grand scale projects with a grand scale. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. It's been an absolute pleasure to animate a bouncing ball with you. I finally watched Little Nemo. There are apparently 3 other pilots for the film on YouTube. No, I like the Japanese one where Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas, 2 of the 9 old men, were consultants, and it shows. It's probably the best animation I've seen from Japan, character-wise. film entertaining or not, that's a different matter. Arguably, that's anybody's choice. All right, my friends, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure on this live stream. I'm going to leave you with my usual sayings. Those of you who want to join me, you can raise your drawing utensil and say, for those who are about to draw, I salute you. As ever, keep it real. You are the real deal. Never forget that. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake. That little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear. And then from the very doubt and suffering shall be born the supreme joy of life. Thank you very much. I shall see you all on the next live stream. Bye-bye.